let's dive into 4 ways of how narcissists build trust. Number 1, they play on your emotions. They know what to do to read you. They don't feel anything for your emotions, but they know how to act like they feel for your emotions. So they start off by conditioning you. They start off by reading you. They start off by love bombing you. This is whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship. By the way, I was in a business relationship with a narcissist, and they are chameleons. They know how to read you. They know how to become exactly what it is that you want. They're actually kind of becoming you in a way, right? Experts at becoming exactly what it is that you would want. So they make you feel like you are the most special, incredible, amazing human being on the planet. They say all the right things. They make you feel like, oh my gosh, the stars have aligned. They rock your world. Soulmates. Where have you been? This is unbelievable. They may even tell you that they love you before your first date, even if they don't mean it. But they say all of these things to try to gain your trust. They know what to do to appear trustworthy from the beginning. So they may even withhold information. Of course, they're not going to tell you the bad things about their past. For example, a great example of this is that mini series Dirty John, which I don't know if any of you might have seen that or heard it. It was a podcast initially, and then it was developed into a mini series. It was a true story, but that guy didn't tell the woman anything about his horrible past, where he had been in prison, all of these things. They're not going to tell you anything that might be bad, because they want to gain your trust. They want to gain your confidence. They take advantage of people. They use information that they've been told in confidence a lot of times. So, and lying, of course, they have no problem with that either, right? So they'll lie, they'll withhold information, they do whatever it is that they need to do to play on your emotions. Charm, charisma abounds. A lot of times they're pretty smooth. That's number 1. They play on your emotions. They love bomb you. All right. So number 2, second way that they build trust is they will make great first impressions. Once again, they will show up exactly the way that you present themselves, the way you want them to. Because again, they're really excellent at reading people. They've been doing this as a survival skill since the beginning of time, since they knew that this was something that they were going to have to do at the beginning. They'll be punctual if they usually are very well dressed, very well groomed. They know that first impressions are really important. So they start to build trust that way. Now, this doesn't last very long, because as soon as they've locked you in, as soon as they get to the next level, they don't respect your time at all. They'll start being late. They'll start being like, oh, you're so needy, all of that sort of thing. But in the beginning, right away, they make really great first impressions. They tell you how much they respect your time. They tell you how much they love your company. They tell you all of the right things, right? Super prepared. They'll even tell you being prepared is key. They'll even tell you how much integrity they have. They'll use words like integrity. They know how to be one step ahead. They'll show you how organized they are. All of those things, they'll do that to build trust. Again, it won't last. because as soon as they lock you in and as soon as they get to that next step, they won't continue to do that. And especially the covert narcissists, as soon as they get to that next step, one of the things they become is very passive aggressive. And, I saw this in my business relationship with a covert narcissist. They'd agree to do things and then just not do them. That's a passive aggressive move, right? But great first impressions. Number 3 way that a narcissist builds trust is they're excellent liars. So they will lie about accomplishments, their intentions, their feelings, great with future faking. So they'll have lots and lots of conversations about all the things that they want in the future. It'll be all the same things that you want. So they're building trust that way as well, because you think, wow, this is exactly the same kind of future that I want to have. I feel like this is an amazing person. And they do that, of course, to make themselves look better. Again, it's a manipulation, because everything that a narcissist does is a manipulation. If you agree with me on that, put agree in the comments, because you have to remember that everything a narcissist does is a manipulation. Everything a narcissist does is a manipulation. Every time they try to love bomb you, every time they apologize to you, every time they try to do something good for you, it's a manipulation. Unfortunately, it is a spectrum. So obviously there are times that maybe they feel some twinge of something, but if they're full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, it's all a manipulation. Okay. So number 3 is they're very good liars. That's the 3rd way that narcissists build trust. So that's number 3. Number 4, this is the last way that we're going over today that narcissists build trust. It is that they're really, really good at reading people. Really, really good at reading people. And this is because this is a survival skill that they had to develop very, very young in life, because they were exposed to a lot of trauma and they felt like they had to survive. And in order to survive, in order to be able to manipulate people, they had to develop the skill of reading people. And, so I say to people all the time, Malcolm Gladwell talked about in his book Outliers that it takes 10,000 hours to achieve mastery. And I always say that 10,000 hours, if you're only doing it, putting in time for sleeping and eating and taking time off and having meals, and I guess I said eating already, but having a little bit of a life or something, it's like 4 years, right? Like the Beatles spent 4 years in Germany before they became famous. And that's why they were already at mastery level when they, became famous. And, they had, he had all these different examples in his book, right? Well, 4 years is nothing. By the time a narcissist is an adult, they've been doing this forever. They've achieved mastery many, many years before that. So they're really excellent at reading people. They're really excellent at doing exactly what they need to do to future fake, to make the promises, to manipulate, to say what they need to pretend like they have empathy, all the things that they need to do to say so that they can present themselves, like I said, as a chameleon, as mirroring you, as becoming whatever it is that they need to become to build that trust with you. Okay. So even though they have no intention of keeping their promises or whatever it is, they can make these huge, grandiose promises because they had to keep them anyway. So who cares? Right. But we, as their targets, they're victims, whatever. Sometimes we just want to believe them so badly, especially if you're really attached to this person. You keep going back because if you love them, or you're in a relationship with them, or you have a life with this person, you're bonded, a lot of times trauma bonded. You think, hey, maybe this time is different, and so you keep going back there. And so that's how they build trust. A lot of times they use these tactics like guilt tripping and gaslighting, all the things, playing the victim, all of that, right? But they are very, very good at reading people. So they do whatever they need to do to get people to do what they want them to. And then, they push them away, push them away, push them away. And they'll even say, I don't want you anymore, blah, blah, blah. And then as you're finally, you had enough, they pull you back in. So they're very, 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 very good at reading people. And that's how narcissists build trust. They go hot and cold. It's so maddening. That's why you end up feeling completely drained. I've been there. That is why I'm on this mission. That is why I do what I do. It is literally the hardest, most horrible thing that you'll ever have to deal with in your life. And because I've been there, because I know how you feel, because I know that you're completely and utterly drained, I want to help you. I want you to get the help and support that you so desperately need, especially if you're having to negotiate with a narcissist. You cannot negotiate with a narcissist as you would a regular, reasonable person. You just simply can't. Early red flags of narcissists. Early, before they even come near you. I want to make sure that you get like this cone of safety around you, right? So maybe you've been in a relationship with a narcissist. Maybe you're trying to get out of one right now. And if that's you, if you're trying to get out of one right now, by the way, I have a free ebook that you got to get. It's free Crush My Negotiation Prep Worksheet that you got to get. You just go to crushmydeal.com, free ebook. You can just get that. Just go ahead and grab that. I've had many people win their entire negotiations on it. Just go to crushmydeal.com and get that. But if you are even thinking that you might be in a relationship, these are the early signs. I'm going to give you 6 of them, and you're going to want to stay all the way to the end and see what all 6 of them are. All right. So number 1 is it's a really, really fast moving relationship, really fast moving. They're like right away, it's overwhelming fast. They got to get to it. And you're almost overwhelmed at how quickly they're moving along this relationship. And you don't have a chance to catch your breath. That's how it is. By the way, this is business or personal. I was in a business relationship with a narcissist, and I felt this too in the business relationship. It moves very, very quickly. So that's number 1. Number 2, the second big major red flag of a narcissist is that they'll say things like your soulmates, things like that. They'll start saying things that will make you feel like, wow, where has this person been all of my life? Right away. I mean, they might even say that on the first date, or maybe even before the first date, they'll say things like that. So that's number 2, early red flag that you are in a relationship with a narcissist. Number three, they will say things like their ex is just crazy. They'll start right away with how horrible their ex is and how awful it was with their ex. I mean, they might even say how horrible their ex is with their kids. that they're alienating them with their kids. And it was just an awful, traumatic situation with their ex. That's another massive early red flag that you are in a relationship with a narcissist. If you are with a person that has a great relationship with their ex, that's a good sign. That's actually a good sign. Okay. Conversely, the number 4 early red flag that you are in a relationship with a narcissist is that they love everything that you love. What narcissists do is they study you. They actually study you and they start mirroring you. They actually kind of become you. They start figuring out what it is that you like. And now all of the sudden, they almost want to align with everything that you love so that you almost sort of fall in love with yourself in a way. They're very, very good at reading people. They've been doing this for years. I don't know if many of you have read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, where he talked about it took 10,000 hours to achieve mastery. Well, this is way more than 10,000 hours. These are people who have taken years and years and years to achieve mastery and manipulation since they were children. It's a survival mechanism. And so what they have done is actually studied people since they were children, and what they needed to do was to survive was look to see what they needed to do to become that person, to become likable. And so they really almost become that person just to get in with them, just to become assimilated, just to get to that next level of commitment. They love everything that you love initially. And I have a whole series of videos on this love bombing, and then they go into devaluing and then the discard phase. And you can check out my videos on the 3 different levels of a narcissistic relationship yourself if you would like. And now, after all of this, your eyes will be wide open. So I want you to put that in the comments right now. Eyes wide open, because that's where you'll be from now on, eyes wide open. So that's number 4. Number 5 early red sign of narcissism is they'll tell you a sob story to get you to feel sorry for them. You know, maybe they had a horrible childhood. Life hasn't been fair to them. They'll tell you all about how awful things have been for them so that you start to feel sorry for them. Maybe their parents weren't good to them or something happened to them, because they want you to start to empathize for them, have compassion for them, take care of them, start giving them that narcissistic supply that they're seeking. They're going to look to see if you are going to be a good source of narcissistic supply for them. That's what they're going to be looking for. All right. So they're drawing you in, bringing you in to see and starting to test you to see if you are going to be a good source of value, a good source of supply for them. Another early red flag of narcissism, telling you a sob story. All right. That's number 5. And number 6, the last one, is your gut. Trust your gut. You're going to know, you're going to feel like something is off. You're just going to feel it because it's going to be rushed along. They're going to be moving you along. You're going to be feeling like, oh man, put the brakes on. Something is happening. It's going way too fast. And even when you start to go, you know what, maybe this is moving too fast. I don't know about this. They're going to be going, oh no, this is not moving too fast. We are soulmates. This was meant to be. They're going to be, every time you start to have concerns, they're going to have an answer for you. They're going to be right there, not even giving you that chance to breathe, not giving you that chance to think. because they're going to be right there in your face with the emails, flooding your inbox, showing up wherever all the time. And they're going to know exactly what to say, be perfect at every moment until they lock you in. So you know by now that you're dealing with a narcissist, you're in this relationship with a narcissist, and you're thinking, how the heck do I get out of this relationship? How do I end it? How do I move forward? So I hear from people all day long, thousands of you from all over the world who have asked me, how do I get out of these relationships? What do I do next? I'm scared. You know, this person has set up this situation where they're in control, and they have you feeling and believing and in a situation where you think, if I ever try to leave this person, it's going to be pure hell. Let me tell you, it is. I can't sugarcoat that. And if I sat here and told you it's not going to be hell to get out of it, then I would be lying to you, and that's not what I do here. So, but what I can tell you is that I've helped many, many people get through this and get to the other side, and it is better, and you can move on, and it is a better life on the other side, despite what they may say. They may even say to you, you know, you'll be nothing without them. That's not true. So that's what I'm doing here on this channel and with the work that I do. And I promise you it will get better on the other side of this crazy thing. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, remember that you're dealing with a personality type that has no inner sense of value. They have to derive all of their value from the external in the form of what we call narcissistic supply. And if you want to know more about narcissistic supply, check out my Narcissism 101 video called Narcissistic Supply so that you can understand more of what it is. But basically, it's anything that feeds a narcissist's ego. And if they see that supply source walking out the door, then they're going to go crazy. It's sort of like a 2-year-old who's having a tantrum. If the 2-year-old wants to get something from the parents, they may fall to the floor, they may cry, they may scream, they may rage, they may throw things, they may do all these things. And what the 2-year-old is doing is basically testing the parents and conditioning them to see, you know, if I scream and if I do these things, are you going to give me what I want? And if the parents give into that child, then they know for next time, all I have to do is scream louder, scream longer, scream harder, throw things, completely embarrass them, make their lives miserable, and they'll just give in. So that's what you're going to start seeing with this narcissist. You're going to see where you actually trigger that narcissistic rage is going to come out, and things will probably get worse before they get better. But narcissists are always the worst right before they're ready to give up. So never forget that. Okay, so when you go to end this relationship, you have to be extremely careful, extremely purposeful, and deliberate, and have a plan of action when you go to end the relationship that will actually make sure that you do the things that you need to do to get where you need to go. Number one, don't give them one more chance. Not verbally, not internally. They've had their chance. You've given them the options over and over and over again on how to correct their behavior. They can't, they won't, and don't give them one more chance. Just decide and move on. Number two, when you decide to leave them, don't tell them, don't share it with them, just move on. You're going to create your plan for getting out, and you're not going to share any of it with them. Don't say, I'm leaving you, I'm getting ready to leave you, nothing like that. Just create the plan and then execute on it. They will do everything they can to make this a living hell for you, and they may even try to thwart your efforts to leave. So they may try to foil your plans, they may try to love bomb you, guilt you, play the victim, all of these different things. And if it's already been a hard decision for you to come to, then you could get sucked back into that So don't tell them about your plan. The other thing that they might try to do is intimidate you, devalue you, cause fear inside of you. If you leave, this is what's going to happen. Or they may just decide that they're going to discard you first, beat you to it, make it worse for you, something like that. So do not tell them that you are leaving. Number 3 is make a copy of all of the important documents that you're going to need, financial or otherwise. It's really important if you can to make a copy or take a picture of these documents, because if you take the documents and they find out that you took them, then that'll be something that they can use against you. Oh, she took everything out of the home, and they'll turn it into something much bigger and much worse. They stole money, blah, blah, blah. So just make sure that you have copies or take pictures of the documents that you're going to need, financials such as tax returns and bank statements, credit card statements, deeds, any prenuptial agreements, things of that nature. Number 4, I talk about this in my other videos. Before you leave a narcissist, watch this is one of them. But one of the things you're going to want to do is have a stash of cash. You're going to want to have at least 3 months worth, so that your lawyer will have an opportunity to set a hearing and get you temporary support if you are the non-moneyed spouse. And you're also going to want to have enough to hire a lawyer. Number 4 is, if you are in an abusive situation, report what has happened to you. Report it to your therapist, report it to your clergyman, report it to the police, whoever you need to, especially if it's been physical abuse or sexual abuse or anything like that. You can always go to a domestic violence shelter as well, but don't be silent about it. There are resources out there for you, and we will actually drop a link and the phone number to the domestic violence hotline, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, so that you can call that if you feel that your life is in danger. Number 5 is change your passwords and log out of all of your devices before you leave anywhere. And make sure that you've logged out of all of the clouds as well. I've had clients who've had that situation where they didn't realize that the iPad that was left at home was connected to the cloud, and now the spouse was reading all of their emails and seeing all of their text messages and things like that. So change your passwords on all of your devices, and including passwords to social media accounts and things like that. And also, block them, get them off of your social media. And they're flying monkeys as well. Think about their minions as well. So making sure that you also have a secure email. That is how you and your attorney are going to be communicating with each other. So you need to have a secure email to be able to do that. Number 7 is check your devices for trackers, or your vehicles for trackers. Make sure that nothing has been put onto your car, especially if you're dealing with a malignant narcissist. If you want to know more about malignant narcissists, they are the most dangerous form of narcissist. Check out my video on a malignant narcissist, but they do have a tendency to track the people that they're dealing with. They stalk them. They have a proclivity for stalking. So make sure to check your vehicle for any tracking devices. Number 8 is don't give in to their flattery or their love bombing. They may start to do the things that they did to get you into their web of control in the first place, like love bombing you. And if you want to know more about love bombing, check out my video on love bombing. But they may start doing that. Don't listen to it. Close your ears. It's a trick. It's a way to kind of suck you back in. Sometimes it's called hoovering. And it's really just a manipulation method to get you back into their web of control. Number 9 is reconnect with family and friends. You are going to need a support system as you go through this. So reconnect with the people that mean the most to you, who love you, who will believe you, who will support you. And also, seek out therapists, seek out somebody that you can talk to about this, who's a neutral third party, maybe even a clergyman
or somebody at your church or synagogue or something like that, so that you will have a support system in place as you go through this. Number 10, similarly, the opposite side of this is disconnect from anybody who's toxic, anybody who's not going to be helpful, anybody who's not going to be on your side, who's going to judge you or make you feel worse or make you feel like a failure. You don't need that in your life. Number 11 is stay away upon leaving. Once you have left, stay away. Don't fall prey to going back or even just to have a conversation or anything like that. Just, stay firm in your decision and stay strong in your decision once you've made that decision. Next is learn about narcissism. Use the resources that are out there, including this channel, including the other channels that are out there on YouTube, which have amazing resources. Dr. Ramani has great resources, and she's a psychologist. There are several others out there like her, Melanie Tanya Evans, Tracy Malone, who of Narcissist Abuse Support. There are lots of us out there that are providing resources around narcissism. Kim Saeed is another one. And I've actually partnered with all of these people in various times, and we've done videos together. And the reason why we do these videos together is because we each bring different perspective, more information. And at this time, you really want to learn about what it is that you need to do. Here on my channel, I teach you about narcissists because it's really important for you to understand the pathology of narcissism and the psychology of narcissism just enough to know what you need to do to negotiate with them and get out of this relationship with them in a way that leaves you as unscathed as possible and helps you come to a fair resolution. And if you are so ready to delete that toxicity and move forward with your life, give me an "I'm ready" in the comments. The next thing that you can do is go easy on yourself. Go slowly. Forgive yourself. You did what you did, and you made the decisions that you made in the moment. And remember that these people are master manipulators. They've been manipulating their whole entire lives. Don't beat yourself up over the fact that you were in that relationship. It happened. You learned from it, you're moving on now, and that's the most important thing, so forgive yourself. I also do have a video on self-care to cope with a narcissist, and you might want to check that one out as well. But the most important thing is that take care of yourself, go easy on yourself, go slowly, it's okay. And don't even beat yourself up over if you end up doing some of these things I'm saying not to do, if you end up talking to the person, it's okay. Just forgive yourself. Understand that you're going to be going through the stages of grief. This is the end of a relationship. This is the end of a dream. It's the end of what you thought was happening. It's the end of what you thought your future was going to be. So you will be going through those 5 stages of grief, and you will eventually heal. You will eventually get to the other side, and it will be better.
Okay, so let's talk covert narcissists. What's the difference between them and a regular narcissist? So they are every bit 100% narcissists. They are the same fragile little ego inside, the same super insecure person that's deep inside there, but they look a little bit different because they're not in your face the way regular overt narcissists are. They come across as a little bit more passive, a little bit more quiet, so that on the surface, you don't actually even notice that they're narcissists at all in the beginning. As a typical narcissist, you think is a person who is telling everybody how great they are all the time. The covert narcissist does not do that. However, because they don't do that, and because you can't see it right off the bat on the surface, they're actually way more insidious and way more toxic than overt narcissists are. Okay, so another trait of a covert narcissist is that they come across as shy and actually even reserved. They actually probably are prone to bouts of depression. They may even tell you that they have bouts of depression. So, on the surface, they're going to seem to be like maybe they're just nice people. Maybe they might just be more fragile, something like that, because being a victim is very much part of the covert narcissist plan to get people into their lair. Okay, the third thing that you'll see with covert narcissists is they seem to be helpful in the beginning. So they'll actually lure you in with things that they know that you want so that they can appear to be super helpful, but they really just want to use you. So as once you're into their lair, then they start with the passive aggressive. They start to drip on you like the Chinese water torture. I'm half Chinese, I could say that, in your on your forehead kind of a thing. Like, and you start to think, am I crazy? You know, because the rest of the world sees this person as being so nice, but you kind of know that something is not right. They're doing all these little things behind your back, and they're very, very good at disguising it in such a way that if you tell somebody about it, the person's going to go, well, that doesn't sound so bad. But you know that it's like this drip, drip, drip thing that they're doing to try to make you crazy. They lure you in with, I'm going to help you with this. And then they start with passive aggressive little things to try to make you crazy. Okay, and the next uh, trait of a covert narcissist is that they often like to play the victim, or maybe they're very sickly, or they often have health issues or something like that, because they constantly need to be the center of attention. So they come up with ways that they can constantly be the center of attention. And then the last thing is that they will not have any sense of empathy for another person. They can feign empathy, but and they know when they have to apologize, just to apologize for the surface, but they really don't actually have any empathy for the other person, because they actually are narcissists, and narcissists don't feel anything for anybody but themselves. If this is sounding all too familiar, give me a for sure in the comments. Okay, so this is all well and good, but if you have a covert narcissist in your life, what can you do about it? So the first thing that you can do about it is not to react, especially if you know that this covert narcissist is trying to get under your skin or trying to manipulate you in some way, or they're saying something to try to get a rise out of you. You just say, good for you, or that's great. Don't react, because that's exactly what they want you to do. The second thing that you could do is, if the timing seems right, call them out on their behavior, but do it in a very subtle way. You sort of play their game. Oh, I'm surprised to see that you're here today. You said you were sick yesterday. Something like that. But you say it without emotion. You don't say it with smugness. You just say it so that they subtly know that you're calling them out on their behavior, but you are not bothered by it. They're not getting a rise out of you. You're just noticing it. So the third thing that you can do is, do not, and I repeat, do not let them know that they are getting to you. You do not show any emotion. You do not show that anything that they're doing has manipulated you in any way, because that is exactly what they want. And if they get that, then they're going to do more of it. So this is a subtle way to start shutting down this behavior. It's kind of like a behavior modification program for narcissists. You don't give them what they want. So don't react, because if you do, then that's what they want. Okay, the fourth thing that you can do is kind of similar to the others, but this is specific to gaslighting, because this is something that narcissists will do often, and especially covert narcissists too. They're going to try to gaslight you. So they try to make you think that you're crazy. So years ago, there was a movie, I think it was actually called Gaslight or something, and this husband was actually abusing the wife through trying to make her seem like she was crazy. And he would blow out these gas lights, and then she would say, wasn't that just lit? And he would say, no, it wasn't. And that's what gaslighting is. You know, it's just like the subtle little thing to try to make you think that you're crazy. So basically it's like, we talked about that. you said that it was okay. Oh, we had a conversation. I'm sorry there was a misunderstanding on your part, and you know that there was no misunderstanding, or maybe that there was no conversation ever at all. So don't let them gaslight you that way. Just say, no, there was never that conversation. No, we didn't have that conversation. Or no, there was no misunderstanding. This is what we talked about. Something like that. Remain firm. Don't allow them to manipulate you into thinking that you're crazy. Okay, number 5 is keep your barriers really strong. One of the things that narcissists do, because they've got this mantra that I will not be ignored, is they don't respect boundaries. So they'll come right into your room, they'll read your mail, they will go places that they're not supposed to be or whatever, and they act like, oh, here I am bringing you something nice, or I'm doing something nice for you. So I'm not respecting your boundaries, but you're going to forgive me because I'm being nice about it, something like that. Don't allow them to not respect your boundaries. Have super strong barriers, super strong barriers. That's the only way you're going to be able to manage their behavior and also keep your own sanity. And the other thing that you can do is to slowly close down the barriers of communication. And what I mean by this is, if you have a narcissist in your life, or a covert narcissist, if the most thing that you can do for yourself is get them out of your life. Okay. And I've recently had to do that with people in my business arena. And because I've had some covert narcissists in my life in the business arena, and I've had to deal with that, and it was extremely difficult, and it's painful because it's sort of a betrayal in a lot of ways, right? But you just have to understand and have compassion for the fact that they're broken people, and that they have deep insecurities and problems, but that doesn't mean they have to be in your space. So if I were you, I would try to slowly shut down those barriers of communication and slowly start to wean them out of your space if you can. Okay, so if you haven't watched Dr. Foster yet, this is your warning that there will be spoilers here. So if you want to go watch it first and then come back, then you can definitely do that, but consider this your spoiler warning. Okay, so the show is really fascinating because it takes this woman who seems to have this incredible life, Dr. Foster. It's set in England. She lives in this cute little town outside of London, and she's got her medical practice. She's got a husband. She's got a 13-year-old son. She's got a beautiful home, and life seems to be perfect for her. Her husband comes back from being away on a trip, some sort of a work trip, apparently. He gets home late at night. He jumps on top of her. They seem to have this great physical relationship too. In the morning, they're getting ready for their days, and all of a sudden she sees something fall out of his pocket, and it's a woman's lip balm. And he just brushes it off and says, oh, it was the only kind they had. I needed something for my lips, and that's the only one that the store had. And she's like, okay, I guess. So then the next thing that happens is she uses his scarf the next day that day to go to work. And she gets to work, and she goes in her office, and she goes to hang up the scarf, and there's a long blonde hair on the scarf. And she starts to get suspicious about, what's that about, right? So she then goes into this obsessive, I need to know, I need to find out. I think he might be cheating. And he's, of course, gaslighting her. Oh, you're crazy, and that's not me. And you're really, losing it, and all this other stuff every time she tries to say something. And by the way, one of the things that narcissists do is they engage in what I call the 3 deadly sins of marriage, which are the 3 A's: abuse, addiction, and adultery. And if you want to know more about the 3 deadly sins of marriage, definitely check out my video on that topic. But, here he is engaging in one of these 3 deadly sins, right? And also, by the way, here's where you see in this movie where some of these flying monkeys are lining up with him and actually even helping him. One of her medical partners actually sends a text and warns him that she's left work early and probably going to follow him. And so he gets that warning and goes to visit his mother at the nursing home instead. And it's kind of crazy how all this starts happening to her, right? And even these flying monkeys, people that she trusted, people that she even like, confided in, she finds out are part of this whole thing. And so, what happens with the flying monkeys is they actually start, um, adding more trauma to you. And if you want to know more about that, check out my video on Operation Triangulation. I talk more all about that. But that's what happens. So anyway, she finds out that her husband is actually having an affair with this 22-year-old. And in the movie or in the show, they actually show that she threw a 40th birthday party for him. So we know that this girl that he's having an affair with is roughly half his age, which is, the guy is like such a typical narcissist in so many ways. I mean, here he is. He's got to have all of that external supply. He's got the doctor wife, the perfect family. He wants to maintain that facade. He's got this big deal going. And by the way, we find out that the big deal that he's got going for his work is actually being funded by the father of this girl that he's having an affair with, and the father doesn't know that this guy's sleeping with his daughter. So she finds out, Dr. Foster finds out because the girl comes to her office that she's actually pregnant with her husband's child. It ends up to be a girl. But it's so crazy how she just becomes unglued with this whole thing. And that's what happens. Like, they make you crazy and they make you unglued. And then what happens is they turn around and use that against you and say, hey, you're crazy. But they forget about the fact that they made you that way, right? And so anyway, they end up having this massive showdown at the house at the end of the season one. He smashes her head against the window. There ends up being a restraining order against him. He leaves town. The next season opens up with it's been 2 years. She's been living there with her son. All is well. He decides to move back to the town with his now young wife and their now 2-year-old daughter. And it just drives Dr. Foster crazy because it doesn't seem like there's been any bad things with him. Like, there he is, like living in this beautiful, big, massive house. And he's got this fantastic job. And she's like, where's this money coming from? And how is he getting all of this? So she actually goes to the house where he's about to move into and starts looking around like, can't believe this, right? And he sees her there and starts goading her and taunting her again. And, he does all the things that narcissists do. He hoovers, he gaslights, he has his flying monkeys there. It's just on and on. Like, it's like very, very classically narcissistic. And by the way, no remorse. He blames her for the fact that he had to leave town. He blames her for the fact that there was an injunction against him. I mean, all of it is her fault. Like, no remorse whatsoever, no guilt. And it just drives her crazy. So here's the thing that I want you to know. They end up like one-upping each other, scorched earth, what we call it, scorched earth litigation or scorched earth tactics, where they're just constantly, you did something, I want to win, I'm not going to let you win, I'm not going to let you win. And they get into this mud. And what happens is they really end up causing a lot of drama, trauma, and chaos, not just for themselves, but more importantly for their son, who is stuck in the middle of these two crazy people who are just trying to do whatever they can to destroy each other. And my message to you with this is stay out of the mud. I mean, he goaded her and she took the bait and then she looked crazy. And this is what happens when you are in negotiations, and especially when you lose control in negotiations. Don't fall for that. Don't do that. Don't get down into the mud. Instead, be strategic. You can create leverage. You can expose them using your leverage. So let's talk about future faking. So, you know the word integrity, doing what you say you're going to do? Well, that doesn't really apply to narcissists. And in fact, if you keep allowing narcissists to continue to promise you the world, and then you realize it's not materializing, you're actually enabling their behavior, which of course is not something that we necessarily want to do, because we want to maybe hopefully get out of these relationships with these narcissists. So what happens with narcissists is part of the love bombing process, which is how they get you into these relationships in the first place, is just kind of promising you the world. You know, the whole concept of overpromise or underdeliver, or under promise and over deliver, you know, that you're supposed to do in sales. They kind of do the over promise and under deliver. That's basically what future faking is. It's, they say whatever they need to about what your future might be in order to get you to do what they want you to do, or get you to get off of what it is that you're bothering them about. Or even in the beginning of the relationship, when they're in the love bomb stage, which they do love bomb all throughout the relationship when they need to, by the way. And if you want to know more about love bombing, you should definitely check out my video on love bombing. But you know, one of the 101 conversation that, you know, the glossary of basic narcissistic terms is that you need to know about is what we call this future faking. And I have a whole bunch more videos on the 101s, basic terms on narcissism, and you should definitely check out some of those as well, especially, you know, gaslighting and flying monkeys and narcissistic injury and supply and things like that. And all of those videos are also on my channel. So, but what happens with narcissists is they want you to do what they want you to do, which is give them an endless amount of narcissistic supply. So narcissistic supply is anything that feeds their ego. So it can be giving them tons of compliments and adulation and respect, or maybe it's giving them money, or maybe it's giving them a place to live, or maybe it's, you know, giving them the prestige of being with you, or allowing you a life that they want, something like that. But they also get supply from, you know, manipulating you and lying to you and getting you to do things that they want you to do, and devaluing you and putting you down and making you know that, you know, that you are lesser to them, you know, just even in little small ways sometimes, like not remembering to do something that you asked them to do, or something like that. But with future faking is a way of getting you to believe that, okay, even though you're not getting what you want from them now, that you will get it from them at some other time. So down the road, you're going to have this amazing life together, or starting now, they're going to be so much better. You know, I was just talking to a client whose husband was, you know, looking at other women online and doing all of these things, and she almost left him. And he said, I will never, never, never do that again. In fact, I will get rid of all my social media pages. I'll do whatever I need to do in order to keep you, in order for you to stay with me. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. And so all this future promise of how life would look. And then they stick to it for a little bit of a period of time, but then they really can't maintain that because they really didn't plan to keep their promise anyway. So they stick to it for a little bit of a period of time, and then of course they fall off the map and they don't end up continuing with whatever it was they said they were going to do. And in this particular case, that husband, of course, continued to maintain relationships with women online because he just thought that he would be able to get away with it. Because, you know, the reason why he continues to do that is because of that whoring that they need to do of getting as much narcissistic supply as they possibly can. So he didn't really plan to ever get rid of these other women online. He just wanted to future fake it with the wife to say, I will do this, and in the future things will be better. And look, I'm going to be the person that you always wanted me to be, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just empty promises, empty promises. That's basically what future faking is a bunch of empty promises. And if this is sounding familiar to you, give me an amen in the comments. So how do you know if you're enabling future faking? It's by making excuses for this person. And sometimes we do that in order to kind of protect ourselves because we don't want to believe that this person is bad. And so sometimes we'll find ourselves making excuses. Like, let's say somebody said that they're going to start coming home on time. You know, that this person is always late, and they said, okay, from now on, I'm going to start coming home on time. And so now they start saying things like, you know, I can't make it. I have to work late. Traffic is bad. I have a big project going on. And so you find yourself kind of making excuses for that person, like, well, they have a lot of work commitments, or, well, reliability isn't really their strong suit, or punctuality isn't really their strong suit. It never really has been. And so you start making excuses for that person. Another type of way that we sort of enable it is by saying something like, I know his or her heart is in the right place. And you know, a lot of times we do this really because we don't want to believe that this person that we've been with or spent so much time with, it can be bad, you know, and a lot of times it's not all bad. I mean, that's the thing with narcissists, because of the love bomb stage, sometimes things are actually not all bad. Sometimes they seem like they can be really good, and we spend like the entire relationship craving, wanting that goodness to come back, wanting to see that good part of that person. And so sometimes we make excuses by saying, hey, I know that the person's heart is in the right place, even though they're not doing what they say they're going to do. Another way that we enable it is to just say, you know what, I just decided I'm going to live with that. I know that they're never going to do what they say they're going to do. So I just assume that I'm going to be responsible. So let's just say that this person says, you know, I know you've been shouldering a lot of the housework. I know we both work all the time, and you do everything at home. I'll take on doing the laundry. And maybe the person does the laundry for like a week or two, and then, you know, there it is, the laundry's piling up. So instead of wanting to start an argument, you find yourself saying, you know what, I'll just go ahead and do it. I'll just assume that, you know, it's all my responsibility. And if the other person decides to do it, well, that's a bonus, but I'm not going to expect it. I just expect that they're not going to keep their word. That also enables the narcissist. The other thing that enables it is just not bringing it up at all, not reminding them what their promise was. And a lot of times when you're dealing with a narcissist, you don't want to remind them what their promise was, because if you do, it can end up being a big, huge fight. And if you know that that's the case, then you're probably with a narcissist, because, you know, a person who's not a narcissist, who wants a relationship to work, who actually has care and empathy for the other person, would be like, oh my God, you're right. I'm so sorry. I said that I would do that and I didn't do that. That's what a person who has integrity would do. But a narcissist wants to deflect. They want to project. They want to make sure that it's your fault. You know, if you are afraid to bring it up because you know that they're going to say, you're right, I didn't do that, it's because it's your fault. I'm sorry you didn't do what you said you were going to do. You know, that whole faux apology. If you want to know more about narcissists, faux apology, and whether or not they say sorry, check out my video on do narcissists say sorry, and if they do they mean it? But, you know, a lot of times that's what you're going to get. And so if you find yourself just not bringing it up at all, it's probably because you just don't want the backlash of whatever that's going to be. So, you know, they future faked, they said they were going to do something, they didn't do it, and you just find yourself saying, and you know what, I'm not going to bring it up, it's not even worth it. So if you find yourself harboring a ton of resentment, because who harbors more resentment about the future faking that didn't happen? Do you think it's the narcissist, or do you think it's the person who was the victim of the narcissist? I guarantee you it's the person who's been the victim, because you just sit there and you go, okay, well, this person is not delivering on their promises. They're not keeping their promises to me. Either I bring it up and I deal with the wrath, or I don't bring it up and then I still end up not getting what it is that I wanted. And so you end up carrying this sadness and this resentment, and it actually turns into feeling terrible about yourself and feeling guilty that you want something because that's what they want you to feel. And or you end up having like no self-esteem or no sense of self, and you end up feeling like you're just a shell of yourself because of this these empty promises that just keep not materializing. Because, you know, obviously you start to think, I guess I'm just not worth having these promises be delivered on. You know, I guess I'm not worth this person doing what they say they're going to do, which where it's actually the opposite. The other person just has no sense of self and no sense of self-worth and no sense of value. So they try to put everybody down and make it look like that they're better than everybody else. And so it's the great game of manipulation. It's just one form of manipulation that they use to get people to do what they want them to do. So in the end, future faking is really a classic sign of narcissism. And if you are seeing this, then you are probably in a relationship with a narcissist, unfortunately. I'm going to count from 5 to 1 because I want to give you the best one last. Oh, yes, I'm saving the best one for last. So, number 5, we're going to start with number 5. Number 5 is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You start with, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you don't understand. I'm sorry that we can't agree. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, you just say, I'm sorry, because it's a disarming phrase. Now be careful, because remember that anything you put your hand to is a trial exhibit, and you don't want to be apologizing for things and then make it look like you're actually saying something, that you did something wrong. What you're doing is you're disarming. You're disarming. Remember, you're shutting down this narcissist. You're disarming the narcissist. You're reclaiming your control. Sometimes you can just say, I'm sorry that we don't seem to be on the same page. It seems that there's a misunderstanding here. I'm sorry that it seems that you're upset, and perhaps we need to continue this conversation another day. You can even say, I'm sorry, it seems that I maybe didn't explain this to you properly, and we can't continue this now. Whatever it is that you need to say, it's a disarming phrase. It's something that they're not going to say unless it's a manipulation, because everything they do is a manipulation. So number 5 is, I'm sorry. It's just a way to shut them down, disarm them. Number 5, I'm sorry. Number 4 is, we can resume this conversation when you're ready to respect me. Because do not sit and have a conversation with anybody when they're being disrespectful to you. If they're screaming at you, if they're yelling at you, if they're being derogatory toward you, if they are saying things that are, you know, not productive, you don't have to sit there and have a conversation. You're not getting anywhere with it anyway. So you can just say, we can resume this conversation when you're ready to be respectful. And then excuse yourself. You know, here's the one thing that I say all the time. There are certain things that are negotiable, and there are certain things that are not. Terms of contracts are negotiable. Your self-worth, not. Your self-respect, not. Ever. So you can always resume conversations when the person is ready to be respectful. And you don't have to yell. And you don't have to scream, and you don't even have to say it with emotion. You don't have to say, we can resume this when you're ready to be respectful. You don't have to be like that. Okay. You don't have to respond in kind. You just say, we can resume this conversation when you can be respectful. Thank you. And then nicely get up and walk away. Okay. And if they say, don't walk away from me, that's not respectful, blah, 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 you know, whatever it is, you just say, oh, that's not respectful. Thank you. And that's it. If you agree, put respect me in the comments right now. I want you to put that in the comments right now. Respect me, because I want you to remember that that's one of the most important things in any relationship, is to demand respect of yourself. And that's an okay thing. That's not only an okay thing, this should be a non-starter. Okay, it should be a non-starter. Number 3 is I agree. And again, this is something you got to be very careful with what you're doing, because remember, everything is a potential trial exhibit. So you can say things like, I agree with that, that's what you believe. I agree that that's what you think. I agree that we disagree. I agree that that's your perspective. You know, in other words, you're not agreeing with anything. You're just agreeing that that's what they think, you know, but just hearing the words, I agree, is just sort of like a salve for people. It's sort of like music to their ears. So when you say, I agree, it's sort of like, okay, they hear, I agree. So that's number 3. I agree. Number 4 or number 2, you know, I'm working my way up. So whether it's number 4 or number 2, depending on how you're like looking at it, is no, just no, because that will definitely shut them down, especially if they're used to you saying yes, especially if they're used to you going along to get along, because that happens a lot of times when you're in these relationships. I know, I've been there too, but then you end up regretting it, la, 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 you know, I know how it is, right? That one is the next one. It's just no, especially if, you know, you just really don't want to do that thing or whatever. Just say no. Just say no, like the old drug campaign. Just say no. All right, ready? You ready for that last one? Are you so ready to find out what that last one is? A good one. I told you it's a good one. This is the most important one. This will definitely shut down that narcissist. This is definitely going to help you reclaim that control. This is definitely going to help you disarm them. They hate this word in a lot of ways, actually. Whatever. This is literally the one word that narcissists absolutely cannot stand. All right. So, yes, you cannot get a narcissist to actually change their personality, but you can get them to change how they will deal and interact with you. And I'm going to give you 6 ways to get them to change in how they deal and interact with you in this video. So stay tuned and watch all the way to the end so that you can see what I mean. What I mean is they've been conditioning you from the beginning. You have been dealing with them. They've been love bombing you. Now, this is whether you're in a romantic relationship, a business relationship, even a family relationship. Even if you've known them forever, they condition you. They expect you to act in a certain way. So what you have to do is condition them back. You have to let them know, hey, this ain't how it's going to go anymore. There's a new game in town. Things are changing. Things are shifting. And the way that we've had a paradigm, the way things have gone before, ain't the way it's going to be anymore. So you're going to have to change. And so you're basically reconditioning them back. And the way I explain it, and the way I want you to understand this, is that it's the same as if you are dealing with a toddler. The same as if you're dealing with a 2-year-old who's having a tantrum. When 2-year-olds have tantrums and they're conditioning their parents, basically, the parents see the 2-year-old having a tantrum on the floor, right? And so for those of you who've had 2-year-olds, you know what I mean. What happens is the 2-year-old wants something. Let's say it's a bottle. And the 2-year-old is saying, I want that bottle. And the parents are going, nope, you don't get the bottle anymore. You have to use the sippy cup or whatever it is. The 2-year-old's like, I want the bottle. And so what happens is if the parents give in to that tantrum, then the next time the 2-year-old just goes, you know what? It worked last time. So next time I'm just going to scream louder. I'm just going to scream longer. I'm going to kick my heels. I'm going to flail my arms. I'm going to throw things. I'm going to become even more horrible. I'm going to make their lives miserable. I'm going to embarrass them in stores, whatever it is I need to do so that they will have to give in to me because I want that bottle. I want what I want right now. And then the parents go, oh my God, I can't take this. There's the bottle. And that's what's going on with narcissists. So until like those parents just go, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. The kid goes, you know what, apparently they're not giving in. I'm going to have to just give up on this. I'll just have to behave. I'll just have to, deal with it, take the sippy cup, and they finally just give up. But guess what? They're the worst right before they decide to give up. And that's what it is with narcissists as well. So you're basically, doing the same thing. You're reconditioning them. Do they change inherently? No, because they're not actually 2-year-olds. They're actually adults. But you are conditioning them to let them know there's a new game in town. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you these tips to let you know how to recondition them. Are you going to change them into loving people who have empathy, who now know how to care for people and become amazing human beings who no, you're not actually changing the narcissist spots, but you're changing them into how they will, treat you, respect you, or they're going to just get out of your life. All right. So here's what you're going to do. I'm going to give you 6 tips. Got it? Number 1, you're going to understand narcissism. You are going to start really getting into, that's why you're watching this channel. That's why you're reading the books. That's why you are getting all the knowledge that you possibly can, because honestly, the more you understand, the more you dig in, the more you really start powerfully understanding everything you can about narcissism, the different types of narcissism, the traits of narcissism, the traits of people that they target, you start to realize, hey, this ain't me. This is them. I can't take this personally. This is something that's, happens to people when they were young. And you start to realize, wow, this is something that, took place. And by the way, as I say all the time, narcissists didn't attach themselves to you because you had so little value. They attached themselves to you because you had so much value. They liked sources of supply that have a lot of value. That's why they liked you in the first place, even though they gaslit you into believing you had no value. Understand narcissism. That's number 1. Number 2, set those boundaries. I always say, step 1, don't run. Set boundaries. Obviously get away from them, but you're not running away. You're setting boundaries. The more you have fear, the more they smell it in the water. They're like sharks looking for that blood. And once they see that blood, they go for that. They go for that jugular. They know how to instill that in you. Set boundaries and stick to those boundaries. And then number 3 is, don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid to confront them. Don't be afraid of them. They respect people who aren't afraid of them. That's the only type of person that they actually respect. You can't have fear. I started to allude to that earlier, but as soon as you have fear, they read that, and then that gives them supply. Your fear actually feeds that. They get off on that, they get a high on that. That keeps them around, that keeps them coming back. They enjoy that. Most people don't want people to be afraid of them. That doesn't give them joy. It gives them joy. You don't want that. And the more you can say, I'm not afraid of this person, they're just they're actually more afraid of you than you are of them. And the more you can see that, the more you can uncover that, the more you peel back those onion layers and see that, the more you will understand that. So no fear. And I want you to put that in the comments right now. No fear. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid to confront them. Don't be afraid to assert yourself. Assert what's fair. Assert what's best for you. Number 4 is related to that, and that is hold them accountable. Hold them accountable for their behavior. If you're in litigation and they don't do something that they're supposed to do, they don't provide discovery that they're supposed to provide, file a motion to compel, they violate a court order, file a motion, let the court know, make the court enforce that court order, ask for sanctions if you need to, if that's something that's available for that. Ask for attorney's fees if you can. Whatever you can do it. Don't sit by and go, well, I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to, hurt them. The more you do that, the more they get away with things, and you're not holding them accountable. And then they think that they are, still have some kind of power over you, some kind of control over you. And that's not okay. That's number 4. Number 5 is reward positive behavior. When they act the way you want them to, recognize that. Say, great job, or I'm glad you're using the parenting app like you're supposed to, or whatever it is that they're supposed to do. They do like their ego stroked, so if you fluff up their ego, it's a good thing. I know you don't want to do it, I know you don't enjoy those kinds of things, but, I always say fluff for favor, vomit later, because it helps you to ethically manipulate the manipulator, and it helps you to get some things that you want down the road. If, don't do it just to do it to get some things that you want, right? So reward positive behavior if it's going to help you. And then number 6 is the final thing, and that is to totally ignore when they are trying to bait you. This is so important. Probably the most important. This is something they totally get off on, is trying to bait you. And they will try to do this constantly in a myriad of different ways, probably infinite ways, thousands and thousands and thousands of ways. It will go on forever, as long as you allow it to. I can't even name the number of different ways that they will continue to try to bait you. But, and depending on the type of narcissist you're dealing with, the way they bait is also infinite as well. But, they will constantly try to bait you. The more you can find yourself ignoring it, rising above, smiling through it, the better it will be for you. because, that gives them narcissistic supply. It also gives them things that they can use against you as well. The more you react to it, remember, everything you put your hand to is a potential trial exhibit as well. So make sure that you don't give them any kind of things that they can use against you either, by the way. That doesn't help you at all. I know it's really hard. I know it's extremely difficult, especially, if you've been traumatized by them for years and years and years. Definitely get the help and support that you need. So, the one hack to beat narcissists, and let me tell you this, everyone else is telling you that negotiating with narcissists is a total waste of time, that you can't win. I know, I've heard it too. And I used to feel that way too. Ugh, that person's a narcissist. They come in, they take over. And I've seen it. I've seen it in mediations. I've seen the worst of them. Before I knew how to deal with them, I've seen the worst of them. I mean, I'm thinking about this one guy who came into a mediation, throwing things. I'm not settling. I'm not doing anything. You're doing this. You're doing that before we even start. This is how it's going to go. And they take over. This is the way it's happening. And so everyone else is telling you there's no way it's happening. You can't negotiate with narcissists. You can't communicate with narcissists. It's a total waste of time. So why bother? Why bother? But you know what? That's terrorist tactics. That's terrorist tactics. So what? We're all supposed to just scurry around and give in? The problem with that is that you're feeding a beast. They're never going to be happy, because then what? You think, what is it that they want? I'll just give it to them and then they'll leave me alone. Have you tried that tactic? Do you see how it goes? Do you know where it gets you? Nowhere. In fact, it's worse than nowhere. You end up in torture because they still don't give you what you want. You're not left alone. Your life is worse than ever. You're in this nightmare that never ends. And you're still living in fear. You're still being tortured constantly. And you think, why am I not out of this nightmare? Why am I not out of this nightmare? And I'm going to explain to you why the nightmare has not ended, why you can't get out of it, why it's not over, because you don't understand what's actually going on. Yes, they want to win, but that's not all they want. You have to understand the concept of narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply is anything that feeds a narcissist ego. And they want two different forms of narcissistic supply. There's what I refer to as diamond level supply, which is how they look to the world, which is prestigious friends, great houses, lots of money. It's that external stuff, right? But there's also what I refer to as coal level supply, which is the dark underbelly of narcissistic supply. It's that degrading, the manipulating, the controlling, the debasing others. It's that denigrating. That is also a form of narcissistic supply. And that form of narcissistic supply is a form that they also love, that manipulating other people. And they're not going to willingly give up either form of supply, either form. They want both. And the problem that most people have is they don't understand that. They're just thinking they want to win. So they think, what is it that they want? I'll just give it to them and they'll leave me alone. So there's this huge myth out there that narcissists just want to win. What is it that they want? I'll just give it to them and they'll leave me alone. That beast will be fed. I'll be out of here let me go, right? And so what happens a lot of times is that people give up their leverage early on, and they think, okay, I'll show the narcissist how good I'm being, how generous I am. I'll give them this, this, and this. The narcissist just takes it. Take, 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 take. They think they're entitled to it anyway, so they don't think that you're being generous. They're just, great. I was entitled to it anyway. So you didn't give me anything that was wonderful. They don't acknowledge it and go, oh, thank you. That was so nice of you. Well, that was mine anyway. I should have had it. So you just gave something up. You gave up leverage that you should have kept in the first place. So now you're even more behind and you're still nowhere. They're still in your face, annoying you, manipulating you, harassing you, making your life miserable because they enjoy the process of seeing you squirm. They literally get off on that. The problem is the one hack to be narcissist is you have to understand that they're actually way more afraid of you than you are of them. So the more powerful that you become, the more that you understand that the less triggered you are, the more you shift that power dynamic, the less that they're going to have power over you. And that's the hack to beat narcissists. So step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. That's how you shift that power dynamic, by ignoring them and becoming the most powerful version of yourself. So it's my SLAY methodology: strategy, leverage, anticipate what they're going to do, be 2 steps ahead of them, and then focus on you, your case, you being on the offensive, your mindset. 99% of winning, communicating with narcissists, any of that is focusing on your side of things, and winning is you showing up as the most powerful version of yourself. And then that is when the narcissist is going to go, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? I can't make them squirm anymore. They're not afraid of me anymore. Now I'm getting afraid. Now I'm nervous. What's happening? Is when you start shutting down that supply source, all the supply sources, that is how you beat them. That is how they start to get nervous. They don't know what to do with that. It's literally like that Wizard of Oz, where you're pulling that curtain away from the feeble little man who's actually running the thing. You're figuring it out. So step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. There will always be narcissists in this world. They will always be toxic. The one that you're dealing with right now is the one that you're dealing with right now. But there's always going to be more that come along. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. There's 15% of the population. I mean, chances are there's going to be more. So the best way to handle them is for you to become the most powerful version of yourself, and for you to realize that deep inside of your soul that you were meant for more, that you were meant to step inside your power and live to what God and the universe is creating for you to be, which is the highest intentions for your soul, and live to that, because then no one can come near you. No narcissist can come near you then. No one can come near you. You're like an oak tree that just stands. And when the wind blows, you're not blowing with it, because they don't define your worth. No one has the power to define your worth. You know, you can negotiate contracts. You can negotiate terms. What's not negotiable is your self-worth, is your self-respect. Those are the terms that are not negotiable.